Here with us at this time.
Yeah, well, our deadline is coming up right now in a couple of days, and I think you've just heard a lot of chatter about, what we're asking for is not sustainable for the business, and being on this side with Unrivaled, I know what it takes to run a sustainable business, so I think if they can't find a model that makes that happen, they need to put people in place who can, because we've proven that it is possible, there is a way, and we're thriving in that, and so I do think a deal's going to get...
The timing of her statement could not have been more critical. With a collective bargaining deadline only days away, Napheesa Collier appeared publicly and spoke with absolute certainty. She acknowledged the growing chatter that player demands were being labeled unsustainable for the WNBA's business model. Then she drew a sharp line. Speaking from her perspective as a co-founder of Unrivaled, she claimed firsthand knowledge of what it takes to run a sustainable league. Her message was blunt. If the WNBA cannot figure out how to meet player demands while staying financially viable, then new leadership should be put in place to do so. This was not framed as a suggestion. It was framed as a conclusion. Collier argued that Unrivaled has already proven such a model exists, that it can pay players well and still function, and that the league is thriving under that structure. Based on that belief, she said she still expects a deal to be reached, but only because players are standing firm on what they believe is possible. What makes this moment extraordinary is not just what she said, but who she is while saying it. Collier is not a detached commentator. She is a co-founder of Unrivaled, a brand new 3-on-3 league. She is also the vice president of the WNBA Players Association, and she is directly involved in negotiating the next WNBA collective bargaining agreement. In other words, she is simultaneously criticizing WNBA leadership, representing players in high-stakes negotiations, and promoting her own league as proof that the WNBA's executives are failing. The most jarring detail is the timeline. Unrivaled has been operational for roughly 3 weeks. 3 weeks. And yet, Collier is holding it up as definitive evidence that the WNBA's decades-old leadership structure is incapable of basic financial math. That contrast is impossible to ignore. A startup still in its infancy is being used as leverage against an established professional league in the middle of labor negotiations. This isn't just bold rhetoric. It's a high-risk escalation. By tying player demands to the supposed success of an improving league, Collier has raised the stakes dramatically. Whether that confidence is justified or premature is no longer a theoretical debate. It's now central to the future of the WNBA itself.
And we can't take less. The sport has just grown too much. It would be a disservice to the people who came before us, so the work that we put in to take less than what we're owed. Yeah. You guys hear me?
Oh my God. They're going to torpedo the WNBA. That's really what's going to happen. Well, if they can't make the numbers work, get people that can make the numbers work. So let me get this straight. You're going to change out people and the math is going to change? How does that work?
To understand why Collier's argument is so controversial, it's essential to look closely at what Unrivaled actually is, not what it aspires to be. Unrivaled is a 3-on-3 league consisting of 6 teams and a total of 30 players. All games are played in a single location inside one arena in Miami. There is no travel schedule, no multi-city fan base, and no regional market development. This is a controlled, contained product by design. Attendance reflects that reality. On a strong night, the broadcast shows somewhere between 800 and 1,000 fans in the building. That's not a criticism, it's context. This is not a league operating at scale. It is a startup experiment designed to test interest, not a mature business sustaining itself through organic demand. Yes, the games are aired on TNT, which adds surface-level credibility. But here's the critical detail often left out. TNT is not making money on this deal. In fact, they are reportedly taking significant losses. The broadcast exists because investor capital is subsidizing production, marketing, and distribution. That's not uncommon for startups, but it completely undermines the claim of proven sustainability. Unrivaled is not generating profits from ticket sales, media rights, or merchandise at a level that covers costs. It is spending investor money to build visibility. That is fundamentally different from operating a profitable league. Yet Collier is pointing to this structure as a roadmap for the WNBA, a league with far greater scale obligations and financial complexity. The comparison simply doesn't hold. Running a small, centralized 3-on-3 league with investor backing is not remotely comparable to managing a nationwide professional league with union contracts, long-term broadcast deals, and year-round operational costs. Using Unrivaled as proof that the WNBA's leadership is failing ignores those realities entirely. Context doesn't weaken the critique, it clarifies it. And once that context is applied, the argument that Unrivaled has figured it out starts to look far less convincing.
Count. Oh, well. I mean, there was no Tim Walz sighting anywhere, but, I'm just leering, trying to get better. CDS. I do know that person. CDS Uncensored. This isn't strong. It's retarded. Yeah. One season of a league that nobody's watching and playing.
What makes this situation truly astonishing is the dual role being played by the people at the center of it. Napheesa Collier and Brianna Stewart are not just star players advocating for better pay. They are actively negotiating on behalf of the entire WNBA player base, while simultaneously operating a league that directly competes for attention, talent, and legitimacy. They are sitting across from WNBA executives demanding higher salaries, while publicly marketing their own product as a superior business model. That is not a gray area. That is a textbook conflict of interest. On one side of the table, there are union representatives responsible for securing the best possible deal for players within the WNBA framework. On the other side, there are entrepreneurs whose league benefits if the WNBA appears outdated, inefficient, or unwilling to meet player demands. Every public statement they make about sustainability, leadership failure, or alternative models directly strengthens their private venture. And the timing could not be more dangerous. The deadline for reaching a new collective bargaining agreement is just 2 days away. 2 days to resolve issues that will determine not only player compensation, but the structure of the league, revenue sharing, and potentially whether the 2025 WNBA season even happens. In moments like this, trust and good faith negotiations are essential. Yet the optics alone threaten both. From a league's perspective, this creates an impossible dynamic. How can executives negotiate in good faith when the people across the table are openly promoting a competing product as proof of the league's shortcomings? How can leadership take sustainability arguments seriously when those arguments come from a startup that has yet to prove its own financial independence? This isn't simply aggressive bargaining. It's leverage built on contradiction. If the WNBA concedes too much, it weakens its own business model. If it pushes back, it risks being framed as out of touch or hostile to player empowerment. Meanwhile, Unrivaled benefits either way, from higher salaries that validate its narrative or from continued frustration that pushes players toward alternatives. With only days remaining before the deadline, this overlap of interests isn't just uncomfortable. It's destabilizing, and it raises serious questions about whether the negotiation process itself can remain credible under these conditions.
Why in the world would you have waited this long to have had your surgery, missed the season of your very own league? What does that say about the importance of the overall importance of the league? TNT is taking massive losses, ruh-roh, for this thing to pretend like they're a successful league. As soon as TNT has started crediting back advertisers.
At the core of this controversy is a fundamental misunderstanding or misrepresentation of basic economics. Unrivaled has raised money from investors. That money is not revenue. It is not profit. It is capital allocated to build infrastructure, attract talent, and test a product in hopes of future returns. That is how startups operate across every industry. Ticket sales, merchandise, and broadcast profits are what define a sustainable business. Unrivaled is not there yet. It may get there someday, but it has not arrived. Treating investor funding as proof of financial success is misleading at best. This is where Collier's argument collapses. She is using investment-backed spending as evidence that the WNBA's demands are easily affordable. But those are two entirely different financial realities. The WNBA cannot operate like a venture-backed startup indefinitely. It must balance revenue, costs, and long-term obligations. Unrivaled does not face those constraints. Yet, confusing investment with income allows for bold claims, but those claims do not survive scrutiny. Lecturing the WNBA about sustainable business practices while relying on investor subsidies is not leadership. It's contradiction. The irony is unavoidable. The WNBA is being criticized for sustainability by a league that has not yet proven it can sustain itself without outside funding. Until Unrivaled stands on its own financially, it cannot credibly serve as the blueprint it claims to be. And that reality is what makes this entire situation so volatile and so revealing.
Of a newly birthed, I mean, this league just rolled out of a JJ and is brand new. You want the WNBA to use it as an example? You got to be smoking all the rocks. I mean, honestly, pop rocks, crack rocks, all the rocks. Geology rock, you name it. If it's a rock, you're trying to light that boy on fire. A 2-year threat.
The public reaction to Collier's comments was swift and unforgiving. Fans did not mince words. One viral response captured the mood perfectly, calling the statement not strong, but delusional. The commenter pointed out the obvious contradiction. A league in its first season depended entirely on private investment, being presented as proof of long-term sustainability. To many observers, that wasn't confidence, it was denial. Others went further, questioning the seriousness of the entire operation. One fan compared Unrivaled to a glorified summer camp, noting that studio-style arenas with limited attendance hardly resemble a scalable professional league. The implication was clear: visibility does not equal viability. But perhaps the most damaging criticism focused on Collier's personal decision-making. Fans questioned why she scheduled surgery during the Unrivaled season rather than during the WNBA offseason. The question wasn't about health, it was about priorities. If the league she co-founded isn't important enough for her to remain available during its own season, what message does that send? That single observation cut deeper than most financial critiques. Because sustainability isn't just about money. It's about commitment, credibility, and belief in the product. When a league's most prominent founder steps away during its inaugural run, it undermines the image of urgency and importance she's trying to project. Public perception matters, especially when credibility is the currency being used in labor negotiations. These reactions revealed a widening gap between how Unrivaled's leadership views itself and how the public views the product. Confidence without proof invites scrutiny, and scrutiny, once it begins, rarely stays contained.
Good Lord, we could look at this. Guys, we could keep going. Honestly, how about this one? This B is retarded. 3x3, small rosters, one location, one gym, one small arena. She is clueless at how to run shit. Right, and you got the WNBA going into these massive, well, when Caitlin Clark plays, going into these massive NBA arenas